Hey everyone, it's Brennan. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to rank every Lucy Foley book. And when I say every Lucy Foley book, I mean all 3 of them that she has released. You would think I could perform a simple Google search before I film a video like this. Lucy Foley has released like 6 books, but I'm not trying to excuse myself for my ignorance, but my library, when you look up Lucy Foley, only has the 3 books of The Hunting Party, The Guest List, and The Paris Apartment. So those are the books that I am ranking for you today. Please forgive me. If you've read any of Lucy Foley's other books, let me know if they're interesting. I haven't heard anyone talk about them. But yeah, let me know. Sorry, I put my foot in my mouth in the first 10 seconds of this video. Other than that, please enjoy. I have read all of them within the past few weeks. I wanted to do a vlog, but I ended up consuming these books so quickly. I listened to them all on audio, and all the audios were really good. They had full cast for them because her thrillers, she writes thrillers, they are told from the perspectives of different characters. And I am going to rank these, and I'm going to rank them from my most favorite to my least favorite. So my most favorite was The Hunting Party. This book follows a group of friends. They all met in and around college. A couple of them go back a little bit farther than college, but they just ended up being a really close-knit friend group. And now they are all in their 30s, and every year they try to get together on New Year's Eve and have a celebration. They usually try to go on a trip together. And this year, one of the more newcomers into their friend group, she's like the new-ish, but not really newish. She's like the girlfriend of 3 years of one of the guys in their friend group. She decides to take it upon herself and organize this trip as an effort to become more of a member of their very tight-knit friend group. So she arranges for them all to go to this lodge the characters are English, so I guess this is somewhere in England, but they all go to this lodge that organizes a hunting party. I don't really know why they wanted to do that. These people do not seem like the type of people at all who would go on a hunting trip. They're very posh. And then you know from the beginning of the book that one of them gets murdered. You don't know who it is. You get some flashbacks back and forth to the days leading up to the murder and then the murder that happens, I think, on New Year's Day. So you're waiting to find out who got murdered, who the murderer was, and you are learning more about your characters. And that is where I think Lucy Foley did so amazing with this book. I loved reading from all of our characters. I thought their thoughts and their insights just to themselves and their friends and their situations were so interesting and thoughtful. Their thoughts were very thoughtful. But I loved how gritty they all were. It's kind of like they all acknowledge that they aren't the best people and they're just doing the best they can, but also not trying to be any better. And we have a couple of extra characters, as in like the facilitator of the lodge, and she is a character who is trying to escape her painful past, and then the guy who takes them out on the hunt, and he is trying to escape an unsavory past himself. And just being in the minds of these flawed characters was so enjoyable to me. And it's also like this friend group is acknowledging that they've outgrown each other and that they don't even really like being around each other, and I loved that. I just ate it up. And I won't even say if I expected twists or not. I really just loved this because of the characters and their very smart mindsets. And I gave this book 5 stars. I ate it up. I did not want to stop. It's very snowy, so I would definitely recommend picking it up more in the winter if you're more of an ambient reader and want your books to match your mood or the weather. But I freaking love this book. And my second favorite book by Lucy Foley is The Guest List. This is the first book by her that I read, and I will say The Guest List and The Hunting Party are essentially the same book, but different stories and different characters. But the plot and the setup is pretty much the same. Even after acknowledging that, I also gave The Guest List 5 stars. This was another thriller that I just really loved being in the minds of unlikable and flawed characters, and I feel like the guest list got a lot more popular. It was a book of the month pick. I don't know if The Hunting Party was or not. But this follows a group of acquaintances and friends who get together for the wedding of one of their friends. They are hosting this wedding on this really isolated island in Europe somewhere. I don't know if it's like Scotland or something like that. Anyway, they are on this island for this very pretentious wedding. And the groom's friends are all these very uppity school friends. Like, they all went to this private school and now they're all back together and they're all just like feeding off of each other's immaturity and their like past shenanigans. And then we have the bride, who is very self-absorbed and very into appearances, and she has a lot of like insecurities from her childhood. And then her sister, trigger warnings for self-harm with her. So you just have a lot of characters who have a lot going on, and this is another book where you know someone was murdered, you don't know who it was, and as the story progresses, you are finding out who was murdered and who might have wanted to kill them. And I liked this really for the same reasons that I liked The Hunting Party, but I did feel like the characters in The Hunting Party were more self-aware, and I just fed off of that self-awareness. And I think the guest list, though, was more plot-based entertaining. And it had more of a underlying plot that you're finding out more about, and it was just so entertaining. Like, both of those books, I could not put either one of them down. And so you know this is coming. My least favorite by Lucy Foley has been her newest release, The Paris Apartment. This just recently came out. So my reading order for these books was The Guest List, The Paris Apartment, and The Hunting Party. And I think if I would have read The Hunting Party before The Paris Apartment, I would have liked The Paris Apartment even less, because my expectations for Lucy Foley would have been that much higher. And I think where it went wrong for me was that it was too different from her other books that were essentially the same. I am a person who finds something they like and sticks to it. Like, the music I listen to is essentially all the same, and it's essentially all reformulated pieces from my emo 2008 phase. Anyway, in this book we are more so focused on one main character, but we are still getting some shorter viewpoints from other characters. So our female main character is kind of down on her luck. She was in the foster system growing up and she needs a place to stay, and her brother has an apartment in this very bougie apartment building in Paris. So she calls him and says, "Hey, I need a place to stay, can I come stay with you?" And he says sure. So she shows up and her brother's not there. So she goes along staying in his apartment, and she is finding things that make her worry that something has happened to him. So she is delving more into the apartment building. She's trying to ask around and see if the tenants in the apartment know what may have happened to her brother, and she's digging more into his life, and she finds out that he was working on a story. With the plot, I will leave it at that because I don't want to spoil anything at all. So this is more like investigative, and you're learning more about this apartment building, and you have a naive female main character, very a la Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, which I loved. But this book just kind of fell flat. Like, I wasn't that intrigued by the characters or their stories or the plot and what was happening. That being said, I still gave it 3 stars. Like, I didn't have a bad time reading this, but it just didn't hook me the way Lucy Foley's earlier books did. And I just wasn't like wowed when we found out what had been going on the whole time. And these unlikable characters were more so annoying because it's like they were helpless. They had all these bad things going on in their lives, and they didn't want them, and they didn't want to help themselves. So I just wanted her characters in this book to be more like her self-aware, self-critical characters in her other books. Because I truly feel like Lucy Foley's writing is so smart and so good and just so engrossing that she thrives in her character development. And I was just looking for better characters that I could like sink my teeth into and live through in this. So essentially, my ranking order for Lucy Foley is her publication order. The Hunting Party was my most favorite, like really a true new favorite thriller. And then I really also enjoyed The Guest List, also still really good. Both of those got 5 stars, but there was just something special about The Hunting Party. I don't know, guys. I mean, I know a lot of you all didn't like it that much, but for me, it was top tier. And third and last was The Paris Apartment. Still like fine, but just not as much of my cup of tea. So let me know in a comment down below if you've read any of these books. Let me know your ranking order, if you've read all of them. I would love to know. I would love to compare notes. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.